It has a very good lens, Zeiss lens, and it costs 35 or something like that. You know that guy Bald and Bankrupt, he does these videos, travel videos. You must watch him on YouTube.
Oh.
He gets millions of views here.
He does it on this?
He does it on this. And if you go and search online what camera does Bald and Bankrupt use, they'll tell you Sony A3000 or whatever.
It's a 35k.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
I
7,
bought
8,
it on
9,
OLX for 10.
Oh, okay.
So
Do you want to keep your mask on?
I'll take it off at some stage. You give me some distance, all of you guys. I'm practicing untouchability these days. And I'm going to fall
No,
off
we
this
can.
ledge now.
Distance kind of good, like, because we are doing what
Little bit, if I get a bit
Just be
excited, I'm going to
careful.
fall off. I'm going to fall
No,
off.
no, but you know, it is up to you. Whatever you feel comfortable. If you
just
feel
don't-
like
No, the
it's-
sound.
It's fine if you don't want to.
Meghnad थोड़ा सा इधर आ जा, है ना? Just
Meghnad
let's
is
give him
quite a legend in his own right. He's doing some very important work.
Come from here,
I'm also an RTI fanatic and
You guys
things
need
like
to
that.
Thank you.
But not as consistent and didn't start as young as you are.
He can come here. We can give him distance. So Meghnad, why don't you come closer to me?
After that, I'll take some fan photos with Meghnad
Sure.
and also
Thank
Manisha.
you.
So Manisha,
Very kind of
Manisha.
you.
when you want to show whatever you want to show,
Huh?
just say that, we'll record that bit later.
ठीक. Okay. Let's start. Fine.
Maybe वही headline है ना कि resume mining वाला. So
हाँ.
we will later talk about it. तो मैं
Second.
तभी mention करूँगा.
पहले में तो मनीषा जो
ठीक है,
कम्युनिटी का पूरा हो जाएगा.
हाँ.
you'll look at editing it later, no?
Yeah, we are right.
Basic editing.
Yeah, fine, understood. I go with this total raw stuff here, whatever I should have.
Okay. Let's start.
Yeah.
Just increase it, maybe.
If I get too excited, I'm obviously going to fall off.
No,
Which is
no.
normal,
I'll
which is
keep an
normal
eye.
with me.
There is a good amount of 6-inch there.
You want to? ठीक है.
It's fine.
Good?
Yeah. Welcome to the morning show. We are here on a very bright, sunny Sunday morning with a very special guest, Frederick Noronha. He is a journalist and an author. He's worked with Deccan Herald, he's worked with INS, and now he's an independent journalist. And he's one of the very fortunate journalists who quit at 32 and
Right.
realized,
My full-time jobs.
yeah, and realized there's no point in being in a full-time newsroom.
Yeah.
Good to be an independent journalist. So we have a really action-packed episode planned for you. Lots to discuss. We're going to start with O Heraldo. Now I have been told here that this is a sort of a pro-TMC paper. There's also a piece in the Wire by Devika Sequeira, which is not as charitable as I'm being, but she's basically saying that this paper is one of the vehicles through which TMC has been launched in the state. That's the piece on the Wire which you can use. Again, the front page headlines, like we've noticed with O Heraldo, are not really concerning Goa. There is rarely any city news ever on the front page. You have the Pegasus Row, the New York Times story that broke, and then you have Supreme Court considering to hear a PIL that seeks a ban on candidates who are accused of heinous crimes. So that's good. And we have a Congress ad on the front page and Mamata Banerjee's ad on the front page. Mamata Banerjee's TMC released their manifesto yesterday. And if you can, this time Congress is talking about jobs. Says we will not vote for business of jobs meant for people. I love their every edition they have a BJP ka acronym. So this is business jobs people.
Yeah.
When it comes to unemployment, all the poll-bound states, it's a huge issue on all the poll-bound states. Goa, among all the poll-bound states, has seen the sharpest fall in employment rates. So in 2016, 1 in 2 Goans had a job. By now, I think 2019 or 20, the data says, 1 in 3 Goans have a job. And the fall in employment rate has been the most drastic in Goa. So it's a huge concern for people. Most people we spoke to spoke about how young boys don't have any options here. There's no industry. There is, tourism has suffered a lot. And most of them want government jobs, but to get a government job, you often have to bribe your way to get one. So that's a huge concern for people, and it is also something that you see in all the manifestos. And important news is that Amit Shah is coming to town today. Welcome to Goa, Sri Amit Shah ji. We are going to be attending his door to door or his rally and whatever he'll be doing.
आज सारे
Yeah.
अखबारों में, अच्छा मजे की बात है विज्ञापन में
हाँ.
कि पहली बार मोदी जी का चेहरा विज्ञापन में नजर आया। जब से हम हैं यहाँ पर सारी पार्टियों में कमोबेश टीएमसी को छोड़ के ममता बनर्जी का चेहरा दिखता था, पर केजरीवाल का चेहरा कहीं नहीं था, राहुल गांधी का चेहरा नहीं था कहीं, नरेंद्र मोदी का चेहरा कहीं नहीं था। आज पहली बार एक हाफ पेज का विज्ञापन सारे अखबारों में करीब करीब है नौ हिंद टाइम्स में, जिसमें मोदी जी के चेहरे के साथ यहाँ के जो मुख्यमंत्री हैं उनका भी चेहरा लगा है।
And Times of India has routine election stories. So they've talked about the only reserved constituency in Goa, which is Pernim. So they're talking about the fight there, who's going to win. They're talking about Vasco seats. So it's just different constituencies. And the big news per se is the release of TMC's manifesto. Frederick, how many newspapers are there in Goa?
So yeah, there are quite a large number for this small population of 16-17 lakhs.
Okay.
So we have 8 in Marathi, 4 in English, and 1 in Konkani.
Okay. And do you have a thriving digital media scene here,
Yeah,
also like smaller?
Of course. So you have a lot of video channels in that sense, which are online and which do shape the debate quite a bit because they have managed to get on the speed thing. They are also cheaper to run than a newspaper in some cases.
Yeah.
And then you have social media, which has been very active. I have argued that on a per capita basis, we probably have the highest social media in the country.
Yeah.
And since this has been on since 94, 95 in that period, thanks to the expat Goans who started their own ventures in those years. So we have networks, online social media networks which predate Facebook, which predate Instagram, which predate Twitter, and which predate Google, if you please. Though of course nowhere on that influence, but they've been there that long.
Right.
Nice. Atul, should I go with my question now or later? About the candidate, the Catholic.
Let's
after?
finish the
Okay.
newspaper
Fine.
headline.
Keep the hot ones for the end.
Okay.
Marathi I can do.
हाँ तो
Please, yeah, Marathi is an important segment of the Goa papers.
So
नाउ अभी हम नौ हिंद टाइम्स की बात करते हैं। नौ हिंद टाइम्स ने अपनी हेडलाइन जो टॉप खबर बनाया है वो है टीएमसी का जो घोषणा पत्र है, टीएमसी और महाराष्ट्रवादी गोमांतक पार्टी का। मैं कुछ पॉइंट्स इसमें बता देता हूं कि जो उनके वचन पत्र 10 पॉइंट का वचन पत्र 10 वादे उन्होंने किए हैं, जिसमें 33% कोटा फॉर गोवन वुमेन इन ऑल जॉब्स। एक तो ये है, तो जॉब वाला जो मसला है बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है यहाँ पर, क्योंकि बेरोजगारी जो CMEI का डाटा भी है उसके भी मुताबिक करीब 10% के आसपास है अभी, थोड़ा सा घटा है 18 के मुकाबले, लेकिन अभी भी बहुत ज़्यादा है। और दूसरा इनका वादा है कि 50% रिजर्वेशन फॉर वुमेन इन ऑल लोकल बॉडीज़, मतलब लोकल बॉडी इसमें इनके 50% और महिलाओं के लिए होगा। तो ये एक चीज़ है। दूसरा इन्वायरमेंट और माइनिंग एक बड़ा मुद्दा है जिस पर हम लोग अभी थोड़ा सा बात भी करेंगे। तो ऐसा लगता है कि कोई एक कंसल्ट करके एक मैनिफेस्टो का हिस्सा बनाया गया है और इसमें वादा किया गया है कि जो माइनिंग है यहाँ पर उसको सस्टेनेबल माइनिंग प्रैक्टिस के जरिए 250 दिन के अंदर अगर सरकार बनती है टीएमसी महाराष्ट्रवादी गोमंतक पार्टी की, तो माइनिंग को शुरू किया जाएगा और सस्टेनेबल मोड में शुरू किया जाएगा, जिसमें जो एक्सट्रैक्शन के कॉन्ट्रैक्ट और ये सारी चीज़ें हैं वो लोकल गोवंस को दी जाएंगी। तो अभी तक की जो जब 2012 में रुकी थी तो एक इसकी सिचुएशन ये थी कि यहाँ पर माइनिंग पे 5, 7, 10, 12 कुछ गिने चुने लोगों का एक कब्जा था, उन्हीं के अंडर कंट्रोल में सारी माइनिंग होती थी, उससे निकालने की बात है। और इसके अलावा
और माइनिंग के उसमें सारी पार्टीज ने बोला है कि विल रीस्टार्ट,
हाँ,
ये प्रॉमिस सबने दिया।
अब ये एक थोड़ा सा हमने कल भी इसका जिक्र किया था कि कैसे शुरू करेंगे नहीं शुरू करेंगे, क्योंकि ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट का इसमें जजमेंट है रोक लगाने में, तो कोर्ट के जरिए ही इसको शुरू किया जा सकता है। तो ये पार्टियां ये वादा कर रही हैं, ये कैसे सही होगा इसका कोई रोड मैप हमारे पास हमारे जानकारी में नहीं आया है। एक और बस चीज़ इसमें जोड़ दूँ, गोवा मिनरल कॉरपोरेशन विल बी यूटिलाइज टू फंड वेलफेयर स्कीम्स। तो ये जो सस्टेनेबल उसका मॉडल है माइनिंग का, उसमें एक बड़ी चीज़ ये थी कि जो जॉब्स ख़त्म हो गई हैं उसको कंपनसेट कैसे किया जाएगा। तो यहाँ पर हमारी और भी लोगों से बात हुई जो इस पर काम कर रहे थे, जिन्होंने एनवायरनमेंट के नज़रिए से काफ़ी लड़ाइयाँ लड़ी। उनका ये कहना था कि जितना पैसा इन 8-10 माइनिंग जो यहाँ के मुगल्स हैं उनके पास गया है, वो इतना बड़ा पैसा है कि उसके ज़रिए सारे गोवा के लोगों को डिविडेंड के ज़रिए बहुत सारा पैसा पहुँचाया जा सकता है, फ़ायदा पहुँचाया जा सकता है, और जॉब की जो समस्या है उसको काफ़ी हद तक उससे न्यूट्रलाइज किया जा सकता है। और ये मुख्य चीज़ें हैं। तो जॉब, माइनिंग, ये 3-4 चीज़ें जो टीएमसी के घोषणा पत्र का अहम हिस्सा हैं।
You can feel free to jump in. Huh?
Yeah, don't worry, no
If you
problem.
have any
No problem.
Because that makes it like
Yeah.
your big
टीएमसी
conversation.
के इसमें कुछ, if you want to say something.
They came out with a figure of 2 or 3 lakh jobs,
Yeah.
like, which I don't know where they get these figures from.
हाँ।
You know.
2 लाख जॉब 5 साल के अंदर में और 10,000 गवर्नमेंट जॉब 3 साल के अंदर में देने का वादा किया है।
So that's a large number because you're talking of
Yeah.
a population of 1.5 million, 1.7 million. So I mean, where do they get these figures from? Like it's on the top of their head, or they say we've done studies, and I don't know where it comes from.
Because all the reports I've read about mining and the job losses due to it, they also quote like a 3 lakh figure, 15 to 20%
3 lakh
of
is a
Goan
popular figure.
population.
So at one stage, Churchill Alamau said tourism provides jobs to 3 lakh people. I really don't know where,
Yeah.
because there are no statistics in that sense. We are totally, and the few statistics that are available are totally wrong sometimes.
Right.
ठीक है।
We are
And
off the mark.
गोवा फाउंडेशन जो कि जिसका बड़ा काम था इसमें, उनका ये कहना है कि एक बहुत ही रिजनेबल जो असेसमेंट है उसके मुताबिक 10 से 20 हजार के बीच में कहीं वो जॉब
Mining में।
Mining में।
जो कि डायरेक्टली प्रभावित हुई हैं और जिनको की ज़रूरत है। लेकिन उससे ज़्यादा अगर सस्टेनेबल तरीके से माइनिंग होती है और उसको स्टेट का, लोगों का असेट समझ के अगर यूज़ किया जाता है तो उसको उससे ज़्यादा कॉम्पनसेट किया जा सकता है।
Just to add one point, I think
Yeah.
mining is a very complex issue. See, the number of people who have lost from it is huge, no doubt. So they are a large section of the vote base. The arguments against mining and the environment damage it causes is also huge. If you go in those areas, you will find it there. So, hi Eric, you will find it there. But you know that doesn't come out in the election discourse because it's a small number making these arguments.
Right.
In 2012, when things like it was stopped, now the environmentalist claims credit for stopping it, the government claimed credit for stopping it. Then when they realized what a hot potato it was, everyone started blaming each other. You know, there seems to be a conflict between the local mine owners and the national, hunger for iron ore, and the fact that this iron ore has been going abroad to China to feed their industry, which is competition at the end of the day. And after World War II, it was the losers in World War II. It's very complex. In World War II, like Japan and West Germany, who were buying Goan iron ore to rebuild the economy. And the fact that it was a highly lucrative field and it's gone through booms and politicians have got involved in it indirectly, directly, whatever. So it's an extremely complex field. But from the election point of view, it's just about jobs. But it's much more than that. You go to some of the areas and you'll see.
Yeah.
You know, cameras have not been there.
So
by and large.
yesterday, actually, we had been to like a bunch of areas, mining areas.
So it's some
and-
aside that the tourists don't see, you know, these
Yeah,
part of
yeah.
the Goan
Yeah,
discourse.
exactly.
So that is why
So-
we went there. We
Yeah.
went mining sites. We went those villages जो कि डिपेंड है उन पर, और वहाँ पर हमें मतलब एक्चुअली जो गोवा का पूरा परसेप्शन है ना कि भाई लोग आते हैं, चिल करते हैं, छुट्टी मनाने के लिए गोवा चलते हैं, पार्टी मनाते हैं,
As some people are
वो
accusing us.
वो
That you came to Goa to party.
हाँ,
Yeah.
a lot of people
Say
are
that
accusing
again.
us.
Say that
A lot
again.
of people
Accusing
are
us.
accusing us कि हम यहाँ बस पार्टी करने आए हैं.
पर
That's not true. Anyway.
एक्चुअली वो जो हिस्सा है ना वो बहुत छोटा हिस्सा है एक गोवा के उसका, जैसे हर जगह के लाइफ के जैसे बताया फ्रेडरिक ने कि बहुत कॉम्प्लेक्स इशू है, बहुत सारी चीज़ें होती है, बहुत लेयर्ड है। माइनिंग का जो हिस्सा है वास्तव में गोवा की बहुत बड़ी जो आबादी है उससे डायरेक्टली जुड़ा हुआ हिस्सा है, और उसमें केवल और केवल अगर गोवा को इस नज़र से देखा जा सकता है कि भाई असली गोवा क्या है, मतलब जहाँ पर असली गांव के लोग रह रहे हैं उनकी लाइफ कैसे, तो वो सब कुछ इतना फैंसी नहीं है जैसा लोग बना के धारणा आते हैं कि भाई एक टूरिज्म स्पॉट जैसा नहीं है। बहुत सारे उसमें प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, बहुत सारे लेयर्स हैं। हम लोग कल गए थे, ऐसे ऐसे लोगों से मिले हैं, ऐसी ऐसी कहानियाँ हैं लोगों की कि कैसे आपकी पूरी ज़िंदगी बदल जाती है छोटे से किसी फैसले से, सरकार के फैसले से, और बड़ी आबादी उससे प्रभावित है। तो ये सब आपको दिखेगा आगे आने वाली हम लोग
हमारी रिपोर्ट देखिए, ज़रूर देखिए, अभी 2-3 दिन में आ ही जाएगी वो यूट्यूब पर। तो मराठी न्यूज़पेपर्स पर आते हैं, पहले लोकमत पे जाऊंगा और
मराठी नहीं, कोंकणी.
Marathi. Loman
You
Marathi.
can call. Okay, so you can call it.
This is Marathi.
No, it's Marathi.
It's Marathi.
This is
This is Konkani. Bangarpur is
Okay.
Konkani.
Oh, so you've been
Bangarpur.
reading Marathi,
Marathi
and
only.
people are telling you can't
No,
read
so
Marathi.
I'll explain. I'll explain.
Anyway, go.
Yeah, so Marathi newspapers,
Meghna,
Manisha. First up, Lokmat has a headline related to mining as well. So the BJP has been promising that they will restart mining, and they will auction out the leases soon in the next season. And even Gomantak has a similar headline here where Devendra Fadnavis said the same thing. One more thing that was written here was Devendra Fadnavis has assured that Pramod Sawant will be the CM candidate for BJP. There is there is Navprabha, which has an announcement of Amit Shah coming to town.
Wow.
It has a
Front page.
front
Big.
page pe, front page pe big hai, and also like they've given his schedule as well.
Okay.
There, and we will probably. But one more interesting news that has come is there has been a raid by the income tax department in Madgaon, where they have recovered 6 crore rupees, and a lot of them are like the person was Marwadi, he was a Hawala operator, he was living on rent in that place, and they have raided him.
ये किसकी कंस्टिट्यूएंसी है?
Margaon is Digambar Kamath.
Digambar
Kamath's
Kamath. Digambar Kamath's constituency, and so this is one of the
दिगंबर
news.
कामत कांग्रेस पार्टी के
Right.
स्टॉलवर्ड बड़े नेता हैं.
And only one newspaper actually has the corona news, which is 10 people bury. So yesterday people pointed out that bury does not mean sacrifice. Thank you for pointing that out. I mistook it for sacrifice.
बट हिंदी में बलि का मतलब सैक्रिफाइस ही होता
Even
है.
in Marathi, in where I come from, baricha bakra is a big thing, which means sacrificial
इसीलिए
lamb.
बलि का बकरा हो जाता है.
Yeah. So I mean, apologies. I might have misread this word in Goan dialect.
Usage might be
Yeah,
different.
usage might be different.
Yeah.
So 10 more people have died because of corona. Just one last thing I wanted to.
So the Marathi papers have this trend where the lead story will be a banner, 7th
Yeah.
column, whatever. So
yeah.
that's their trend.
That's their trend. And wait, कहाँ गया वो? अरे यार, मैं गोमन तक नहीं था, sorry. Oh yeah. BJP big ad on Gomantak. वही है, नरेंद्र मोदी का photo first time.
Yeah.
The ad is actually about giving free mediclaim to 2.92 lakh families, up to 4 lakh each. There is a woman's photo here, Manisha.
Yes.
If you remember.
you are
West Bengal
you are
they
looking for.
replaced.
Yeah.
एक चीज बस इसमें और है, मैं थोड़ा सा ये जो ऐड वाला है इसमें अलग अलग है लोगों के कहानियां हैं कि भाई चेहरे किसी के इस्तेमाल इसलिए नहीं हो रहे थे, तो किसी का तर्क ये था, आम आदमी पार्टी का तर्क ये था कि कॉमन कोड मतलब कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट लगा हुआ है, मॉडल कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट, तो इसलिए चेहरे इस्तेमाल नहीं कर सकते हैं, चेहरे छपे हुए हैं. पर अभी हम देख रहे हैं कि चेहरे का इस्तेमाल हो रहे हैं.
Yeah. Mamta is also always there.
Yeah.
Mamta is also like most
Yeah,
of TMC
banner
ads
ads
have
were
a-
there. Okay, just 2 tiny news. Amit Palekar did a press conference yesterday claiming that there has been a big corruption in water bills, where Goans have been overcharged. And the other interesting thing I found was Devendra Fadnavis is apparently going around from place to place saying that all the BJP workers were upset. They need to come together and work together now, and they will resolve all their issues. So he's been going to 2 to 3 places since yesterday and saying the same thing. So there is some, I mean, maybe we can gauge from there what is the situation of BJP campaigning here as well.
तो
It's interesting.
हाँ.
It's interesting that health is a major issue.
हाँ.
So the government is saying that we've done something on it, and water and other things are also an issue, like municipality facilities, in the villages and things like that. So the opposition is saying you've not done enough on it. So you can see the issue from both sides of the.
अच्छा,
fence.
स्मॉल स्टेट्स में ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट मुद्दा भी, जैसे दिल्ली में आम आदमी पार्टी ने के लिए अपने पानी के मुद्दे को इशू बनाकर और फ्री वाटर और फ्री इलेक्ट्रिसिटी को करके काफ़ी बड़ी अचीवमेंट हासिल किए. तो गोवा के उसमें अगर हम देखें तो ये पानी जैसी चीज़ों को सप्लाई का मुद्दा बड़ा मुद्दा बन सकता है.
Possibly, yeah, because it's something that affects you every day, no, on a day-to-day basis. But then there is a debate among the middle class saying, do we need freebies really, or do we just need efficiency of service? Because Goa has that kind of purchasing power among the middle classes, I must say. Land is another big issue where the BJP started this big controversy by offering land to people who had squatted on the land. So this full bill and things like that, which came about, which became quite a joke over time, because they called it Bhumiputra bill, and actually they had included in the definition anyone who had squatted over land for the last 15 or whatever years. And then TMC has come out with a new promise that from 76 onwards, no one really understands what is the
Cut-off.
relevance of that 76, maybe some tenancy law or something. That anyone who has been on the land would get it. Now there is a conflict between people who feel that you're giving land to those who are wrongdoers. You know, this same kind of naughty sentiment. You know, shades of it.
So now I had a question to you. Now yesterday we discussed how the BJP's fielded 12 Catholic candidates, and this is the biggest amount since I think 2013 maybe. And we met a very interesting bunch of young people yesterday near Morjim, a husband, wife, and the wife's brother. And there are two questions I have for you. One is, and they were Catholic, all three of them. And so one of the first things she told us when I asked her, you know, about voting preferences and all, she said, see, Goa is very small. Our voting preference is on a candidate who we know will do our work. Caste doesn't matter to us, identity doesn't matter to us, religion doesn't matter. Parties also don't matter. Ki Congress hai, BJP hai, TMC hai. We look at which candidate we have a personal relationship and who we are sure will do our work. Because in Goa, everyone knows everyone. How true is that?
2 or 3 points. See, unlike UP, BJP is not saying that we don't need minority, we don't put a single Catholic candidate or minority candidate. Unlike UP.
Yeah.
Here, the thing is that the so-called Catholic candidates are actually BJP candidates in that sense. They're only Catholic through name. Like, it's not that the community has any hold over them.
Okay.
Or they may not even be popular Catholic leaders there, because BJP is trying this mix and match thing. No? You get a Catholic with Hindu support and puts forward a winning combination. Okay, yes, it is true that the blood transfusion between parties has totally blurred the image. So you cannot say this is mine and this is theirs, because someone is here today, is gone tomorrow. Okay, so that's the third factor. The probably the fourth factor is also that it does, the national discourse does affect things like, so for example, minorities have felt threatened over this discourse about conversions, over this discourse about attacking festivals and things like that. Of course, people like me are more cynical, and I think that it is just a kind of divisionary tactic to take attention away from the economy. But it does affect people by and large. So some have reached the point like, how do we make sure this party gets defeated in that sense? So,
but is identity a big issue for Goans when they vote? Like you see in UP, like Atul कह रहे थे कि लोग बहुत clear होते हैं कि ये मेरे caste का है तो I will vote. ये मेरी party है. We didn't find that sentiment in Goa कि this is my party, yeah, this is my identity, or are they just not telling us openly?
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Okay.
So people here are very close, socially, culturally. As time passes, more so. My kids' generation much more than my father's generation. So there is so much interaction. You cannot be too insular in a place like Goa. Some parts of Goa more than others. That interaction is there. Having said that, since the 60s we had this low intensity communalism because of Goa's freedom struggle and things like that. So there has been a certain injection of politics of communalism then. And I'm not saying that before that there was no politics. There was of another sort before 61 also. So the arrogance.
अतुल, हम ये बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंट एक्चुअली मनीषा ने भी रेज किया कि कल हम जो सुपरवाइजर से मिले थे, वो माइनिंग सुपरवाइजर थे, उन्होंने एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग चीज़ कही कि ही इज़ अ बीजेपी सपोर्टर, ही हैज़ कैंपेन्ड फॉर बीजेपी, but he always votes on issues. So for the last 2 elections he's been voting saying that BJP is going to start mining again, but अभी उसका hope चला गया है, but he will continue to be a BJP supporter but might not vote for them.
ऐसे बहुत सारे लोग यहाँ पर भी मिले, जैसे उत्पल के भी कैंपेन में, कि वो मतलब ट्रेडिशनली बीजेपी के कार्यकर्ता थे, एक्टिविस्ट थे, लेकिन वोट देने के लिए दे चूज देयर कैंडिडेट
इशू बेस्ड
थिंग्स. हम मतलब नॉर्थ में हमको जैसे बहुत कॉमन आजकल वो मिल जाता है नारा कि चाहे 150 रुपए लीटर का पेट्रोल खरीदना हो पर जीत आएंगे तो योगी जी टाइप, ये सब मजाक में लोग कहते हैं, लेकिन ये चीज यहाँ पर लोगों में नहीं. वो अपना कैंडिडेट अलग उससे वोट अलग उससे चुनते हैं, पार्टी को वो सपोर्ट अलग तरह से.
So that will happen also in a place where you get say a popular candidate, put up by XYZ party. Though they may not agree with the candidate, with the party, they may support the party. So Parrikar had perfected this in 2012, and people forget the role that Parrikar played, because he was ambitious, smart, intelligent, chess player, Machiavellian, whatever you want to call him, one-party government and everything. So in Salsette, people didn't realize what he was doing, but he took out popular candidates who were football players and things like that, and people did support them. They did get the vote, and sometimes they are also like, you don't know which party is really supporting whom. So there's a fake candidate there and some independent who's pushed up. All these kind of things are possible. So people will support across the borderline. But in the past, we have this tradition of Catholic-Hindu divides in politics. Now less so, and with all these parties coming
with
in.
national discourse, like when you see this is what I was told, that we don't have this, you are Hindu, you are Catholic, you are Muslim. There may be an undercurrent, but this is not a Goan thing.
Yeah, it's not very strong also.
But with the national discourse on, you had the church attacks, you had friends of RSS and the Sangh Parivar family burning Santa Claus. These things now, an ordinary Goan has access to what's happening in the rest of the country. How has that affected a Catholic here? And do you also see a little bit of communalism, like that, like the North kind of discourse of Christianity, conversion, anti-Christmas seeping in here a bit?
It's very interesting because, so far the discourse at the national level and state level doesn't tally because, you're dealing with different minorities, different histories. All of us accept that we are converts. Like there's no issue about that, just because I have a name like Noronha. I'm not Portuguese or something like that. We have no hang-ups about that.
Okay.
So it's a different kind of a discourse. The lines between we and them get blurred along the way, because if you go back in history, then we becomes them. So, but some people, do get affected by the national headlines. That's where the press.
इसी से जुड़ा अगला सवाल था थोड़ा सा हम लोग सवाल क्या मतलब अगर इस पे थोड़ा सा आपका एक आर्टिकल आ छपा है बुक रिव्यू है बुक का नाम है द डीनेमिंग ऑफ गोवंस केस स्टडीज ऑफ कन्वर्जन इन मेडिवल गोवा और तो एक कन्वर्जन और कम्युनलिज्म का एक बड़ा इशू कभी रहा होगा उसको लेके ये जो किताब लिखी गई आपने इसका रिव्यू किया है और चीफ मिनिस्टर जो हैं यहाँ के उनका भी एक बयान आया था कि पोर्टुगीज एरा में बहुत सारे मंदिरों को तोड़ा गया वो तो और दूसरा मनीषा ने जो कहा कि एक नेशनल लेवल पर कम्युनलिज्म का एक चीज़ चल रहा है कहीं क्रिसमस पे अटैक हुए चर्चेस पे लोगों ने अलग अलग तरीके से विरोध किया तो वो ले दे के मिलाकर गोवा जो कि प्रीडोमिनेटली एक क्रिश्चियन कल्चर सोसाइटी है तो कहीं ना कहीं उस पॉलिटिक्स में अब असर करता दिखता है आप लोगों को
Predominantly in the sense that we are a minority in that sense, 24, less than 25. But as someone on Twitter said, it's a minority, but it looks from the coverage that Goa is a Catholic majority state.
No,
so I jokingly say that Catholics are the only minority who think like a majority in Goa, and Hindus are the only majority who think like a minority in Goa. No disrespect meant to anyone. There are historical and other reasons for it.
Yeah.
Convergence is a complex issue in that sense, Of course, I have my own views on it. It's too controversial and too tough to get into it. Even this full Inquisition debate, which everyone talks about. There's one video online which is called "The Myth of the Spanish Inquisition." It's by BBC. Just watch it. So a lot of propaganda has actually gone into shaping these issues and one-sided versions of history. Yes, temples were destroyed, but it's not only temples which were destroyed. There were all kinds of other places of worship which were also destroyed in a medieval time because those were medieval times. I'm not justifying it or playing it down.
True.
They were medieval times and different forms of religion were destroyed. So Genghis Khan, like for example, took over Islamic places and made them Buddhist places. Okay, in across India the history is littered and the British and colonial powers also played up on this Somnath and certain facts of history to create this divide and rule in that sense. And so did the Portuguese in that sense. I'm not sure how much of their claims of destruction of temples are actually true and actual boasting. How much of their laws which they keep on repeating and saying that you will not do this, you will not do that are actually implemented or just intentions of implementation or showing their power.
Right.
And in those days the church and the state was one. So we are kind of looking back with a secular perspective and saying how medieval they are.
True. I would like to move on and to the last question that I have for you. What, according to you, are the three main issues for the elections in Goa?
My friends always laugh at me and say you're a long perspective thing. You always say in the long haul this, in the long haul that, and you don't want to take on recent issues. But that's a fact. I think building a vision for Goa is the most important thing. The other things are just details. No one has a vision for Goa as of now. No politician. It's just 5 years. And we people in the media of us, we have like a 1 week or one day vision. So that's 24-hour cycles.
A vision for Goa, you think should be like
should be there. Where are we moving ahead?
And what should that vision, like what are the two elements of that vision?
So I'm saying our future, our youth, like this is a heavily migration oriented society like Kerala, like Punjab, like Andhra and things like that.
A lot of people take the Portuguese citizenship
exactly.
and then go to UK
exactly
or
yeah. So not Portuguese citizenship has of course exacerbated the full thing, but even before that people have been moving all the time and they want to go out and unlike a big country like India, a small state like Goa has to be outward focused and we are very outward focused, which is a good thing. If you look at one of the papers, I think Herald or Navint has this story where there are 4 candidates of Goan origin taking part in the Portuguese elections.
Oh.
And the Prime Minister has been successfully managing it for the last 5 years. There's hardly any comment except when Modi invites him down to India as chief guest for some parade or something like that. But otherwise, so it's a different equation with the outside world. So we need to understand that, build on that, kind of think of the future, educate our youngsters, take issues of gender equality forward. With the South, we have, kind of moved ahead in terms of social development goals. But that's not enough. You can't rest on your unemployment is a huge issue. Kerala also has this problem where the more educated you are, the more suicides you have. And we have aging populations. We have so many other issues that need to be tackled. We have disparity in incomes. We have rural-urban divides. We have old conquest, new conquest divides, which are colonial-like. And people have done their PhDs on this subject. That after the end of colonial rule, it's not that the new government that came pumped in money into the so-called new conquest, the less developed parts of Goa, the more ignored parts by the colonial ruler. The gap only widened. All these kind of things, which is what you'll see if you go into mining areas.
Right.
Which is why the discourse is that mining has to be restarted at the cost of destroying our very environment.
And we can't let you go without predictions. So, which party do you think will be the... Give me some cliches. Which party will be...
Raj Tilak
किसका राज तिलक होने जा रहा है? Who is coming?
Who will be crowned? Who will rule us?
Kingmaker कौन होगा?
Who will be the kingmaker?
You're going to accuse me of sitting on the fence,
Okay.
which my friends also accuse me of. But the situation is quite confused. It's not going to be easy for the BJP.
Okay.
On the other hand, if they win even a few seats, they might form a government. You never know.
Good.
So in that sense, but you could expect some surprises. See, what our journalists are doing in Goa, they take seat by seat and they say like this seat is going to that party, which I think is the wrong way of doing things, because a few percentage shifts this side and that side can actually shift the
margins are very less here because of
at
the
one
small
stage we
margin.
collected, I think this was 2007 2012, there were 25% of the seats, 10 seats where the margin was 500 and less votes.
Oh.
Wow.
So if you get in a fake candidate, if you get in a dummy candidate to divide that vote, so what role are the AAP and the TMC going to play? That's the question.
तो फ्रेडरिक छोटा आखिरी में 2 चीज़ें, एक तो आप एक कोंकणी न्यूज़पेपर हमारे लिए लेके आए थे भांगर बुई, और दूसरा एक हिंदी न्यूज़पेपर लेके आए आप नित्य समय के नाम से, ये अखबार छोटा सा है.
नित्य समय मीन्स
नित्य समय मतलब डेली टाइम समथिंग लाइक
I see. समय टाइम्स.
या
समय टाइम
समय नित्य इज डेली.
ओके.
तो हालांकि ये 1 दिन पुराना अखबार है और इसमें की जो चीज़ें हैं कल हमने डिस्कस कर ही ली हैं. इनकी वेबसाइट हमने चेक किया तो वेबसाइट पर वही सारी खबरें हैं, टीएमसी का मैनिफेस्टो है और अलग अलग छोटी खबरें हैं. तो थैंक यू फॉर दिस हिंदी न्यूज़पेपर, जो कि यहाँ पर पहली बार लोकल हिंदी न्यूज़पेपर है ये, जिसका गोवा से जुड़ाव है. इसके बारे में अगर थोड़ा सा कोंकणी के बारे में संक्षेप में बता पाएंगे.
Yeah, so Bangarbui is virtually the only Konkani newspaper in the world. And Konkani is the only language written in 5 scripts in the world.
Oh.
So in 5 scripts.
In 5 scripts.
Yeah. So that's Devanagari official Roman, widely used, Kannada script in Karnataka, Malayalam less used now, and Perso-Arabic by some Muslim community on the Karnataka coast. Only language in the world. Unfortunately, there's this push towards uniformity, so Devanagari is pushed the others out, and we have a bee in our bonnet over that. Personally, it affects me and things like that. But anyway, having said that, this is the Konkani paper, and they have some interesting stories on Sundays. They have a good magazine section. Like for example, and they mention the name of all the writers, so the writers get feedback. Of course, I want to make one point. So you will say, why are there so many Marathi papers in Goa? This is some kind of demographic aggression from the neighboring big brother state.
Yeah.
Not exactly in the sense that Marathi has a long tradition in Goa. Even in Portuguese times, it was encouraged in education and things like that. So while the Catholics shifted over to Portuguese and English as the elite language, Hindus shifted over to Marathi. And there is a local tradition here of speaking Marathi. And then, last point, language in Goa is very complex. Most people don't recognize Goa as a multilingual state, and I'm also not reflecting it, unfortunately. But you have different languages used for different purposes. So in the press, it's basically 40, 40 and 10 maybe, or 45 and 10%. Marathi 45, English 45% and 10 minority, this small Konkani are tiny thing, which is divided by scripts. Not everyone can read Devanagari and things like that. And then for music, it's like Konkani dominates.
Yeah.
You know, on the video shows, Konkani dominates with a little bit of Marathi, little bit of English. If you go to the market, you'll find Kannada and Hindi. So it's, of course, films, it's Bollywood and English. So there are different languages used for different purposes. Our archival language is Portuguese, which is a dying language, very sad. It's one of the endangered, Portuguese in Goa is one of the endangered languages. So, like, you know, I think that's sad. We are losing
स्कूल
it.
में भी पोर्टुगीज के क्लास नहीं पढ़ाई है?
Okay, so there is, वो तो ठीक है.
Do
There is
young kids learn Portuguese? Like, do they have an option of learning Portuguese till?
2 blocks away. There's something called Fundação Orient. You should visit. It's a cultural foundation set up in Goa by the Portuguese with gambling money from Macau. This is. But to them it's different. Culturally it doesn't mean anything bad. Like no, it's just like up to Goa. They have a cultural center there. They support teachers in schools. So they have about 800-900 students learning it. And there is a huge
But
desire
do you get
also
an
to
option in school to choose
third language.
Portuguese as a
Third language.
It's a third
It's
language.
it's offered.
Oh, great.
And that's now because, you know, unlike in the other parts of India, British India, French India, Pondicherry and all that, the transition was not very peaceful here. So till 74 there was actually a big clash. After 74 relationships improved, and today of course India and Portugal have no problem. The Goans have a problem with both, saying that you all sold us down the river. Sometimes that's what's argued. Because Chavan and Mario Suarez had an agreement in 74 end,
Okay.
normalizing relationships. So Fundação was set up and they support teachers, they support the language in different ways.
Great. Thank you so much. That was our Sunday morning show with Frederick. Thanks so much, Frederick, for coming over and
My
giving
pleasure.
us your time. Keep watching. We have the mining report that will come. We have an interview with the AAP CM candidate that's going to come out, and we're going to get you a lot more from Goa. And we're also going to leave Goa on February 1st. So save your comments कि हम तीनों editors यहाँ party करने आ गए हैं. We're going to leave and we'll go to UP and Uttarakhand and Punjab, and we'll be coming to your state soon. That was another election show, our morning show. सब देख लिया.
Manisha, it's so irritating when people tell you, oh, you live in Goa, what a lovely place. So I tell them I live in Goa and I work there, I'm not partying there. And then the next comment, oh, you live in Goa and you don't drink, like that kind of thing.
So one big instance is अब तक हम beach पे नहीं गए.
We still haven't visited, gone to a proper beachfront, so
Yeah, which is sad.
It's too crowded. Ask me how many years I've not been to a beach. It's too crowded. I tell my friends, don't. And if you want to come in Christmas and New Year that week, don't come. Please don't come. Come some other time.
I've been cribbing about going to the beach, so I'll save that for later. But keep watching another election show. Keep watching our reports. सब देख लिया.
अब ये देखिए. Thanks. That was
Thanks.
fun.
Thanks.
That was fun.